pocket.
My God, look at the rats.
You made me hate myself. Well, I like myself.
Where your nightmares end, Willard begins.
Oh, what do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
I'm Paul,
I'm Mark.
and welcome to a double feature. A double feature of The Return of the Sun. The show meets
The Importance of Being Ernest meets Svengoolie.
meets yeah. So tonight, what we thought we would do is, because Svengoolie ran Willard from 1971, and it heavily features Ernest Borgnine.
Yes.
We were planning on putting Willard in our Importance of Being Ernest, but when Sven ran it, we're like, let's worlds collide here.
Yes. Worlds collide, Jerry.
That's right.
But Paul, as this is a special crossover episode tonight, we have a sponsor for our special crossover?
Oh yes, we do. In fact, we have our sponsor this week is Sven Bits. That's right. Delicious Sven Bits. Each box of Sven Bits comes with 100% of your daily corn, and each box comes with a surprise rubber chicken. All right, so let's talk about, what do you want to talk about first, Sven or Willard?
Let's talk about, since this is the Importance of Being Ernest, let's talk about Willard and Ernest.
Okay.
And then we can talk about Sven.
All right.
So, Willard, again, as you said, released in 71. It's about Willard Stiles, a meek social misfit who develops an affinity for rats. He lives with his overbearing mother and her overbearing old people friends. He's an embarrassment to her. And then also Ernest Borgnine plays Al Martin, who, when Willard's father, who owned this business, dies, Al Martin, played by Ernest, takes over the business and then relegates Willard to a menial job and tons and tons of work, no raises, insults, etc., etc.
Beratements.
Yes,
humiliation.
Yes. And then so Willard eventually, in learning how to talk to the animals, talk to the mice, rats, befriends two rats, Ben and Socrates. Socrates, who, I just thought of this. Interestingly enough, Socrates is the good white rat, who is Willard at his best. Ben is the dark, evil rat, who is Willard at his worst.
That's true.
And eventually, he begins using Willard and Willard's army of rats to start disrupting the people who make his life miserable and get revenge on them. So I think that's the plot.
and who's in it?
Yes. So as Sven talked about, so we have Bruce Davison as Willard Stiles, a very young Bruce Davison. Good Lord.
Yeah. Practically still wet behind the ears.
Yeah, and
Bruce Davison.
so most famous, at least for me, as the Senator guy in the X-Men movies. Sandra Locke, the
former Mrs. Clint Eastwood, but yet not Mrs. Clint Eastwood
correct.
yet.
I'm trying to. Do we describe her as an act? She's an actress.
Yes,
but I'm not going to put any adjectives on it. She's Joan, who becomes sort of Willard's woman who cares for him, but probably his friend zoned him. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell. And then we have Elisa.
There's a lot I couldn't tell.
Yeah, Elisa Lanchester as Henrietta Stiles, Willard's overbearing mother, who unrecognizable as the former bride of Frankenstein.
What's that in your pocket?
And then we have, of course, Ernest Borgnine as Al Martin.
The incomparable.
Incomparable, yes, the legend himself. Patrick O'Malley, a veteran character actor, is also in the movie. And then a lot of old ladies who are friends of Willard's mother
Yes.
are also in it.
My God, look at the rats.
So, what'd you think of Willard?
Willard is like if like Roald Dahl wrote like a supervillain movie.
Okay.
It's got there.
Okay. Explain this one to me.
Think about it. In like James and the Giant Peach and
Yes.
stuff like that, there's always like the weird older people,
Okay.
and they're always having parties.
Oh yeah.
And there's the little misfit boy that gets involved with like
Okay.
creatures,
Yes.
and it just puts out that kind of air to me.
Gotcha.
And it's a fun slant on a B-list supervillain. You know,
Okay.
like he's wronged at his job. He
Yes.
befriends the mice. He becomes Rat Man. You know,
Right.
but so it's like if Roald Dahl wrote like a supervillain
Okay. Okay.
character.
Okay.
I do like this movie, but I think it would be best suited as like an episode of Night Gallery, where it's like only like a half an hour because
Yeah.
it goes on for a very long time.
That's my problem with the movie. It is the slowest burn of slowest burn.
Yes.
And I get that. I think a lot of what they keep hammering home
Mm-hmm.
could have been, it was easily established the first time. We get that his mom is overbearing.
Mm-hmm.
We get that he's a milquetoast. We get that he can't do his job. That Ernest Borgnine has taken over. And so and then they just keep hammering it. The old lady who helps his mother is interfering and annoying.
Yeah.
And it's just repeat after repeat after repeat of that with very little it doesn't have the pacing of a horror movie.
No, and it doesn't know whether it's a horror movie
Yeah.
or a comedy.
Yeah, or an after school special like about a bullied kid. It's just got that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't. Now I have to say, and then the other thing that bothers me is that, all right, so granted, Ernest Borgnine's character has taken over the business. It's implied illegally, I guess.
Yeah, he swindled it somehow.
Yeah, but I don't think his demands are unreasonable of Willard. Like, do your damn job, kid. I mean, Willard seems, until Sandra Locke's character shows up, Willard seems incapable of doing whatever he's doing, shuffling papers and checking folders, and
because he's always behind. And then when she's like, "You got to stay behind on a Saturday," and he drops like that sheaf of papers, it's really not that big of a sheaf of papers. So maybe he's just bad at his job.
Yeah, and I think Ernest Borgnine, I mean, maybe the dad knew that about Willard, so maybe I have like this weird feeling that Al did not, even though the mother says he did. I don't think he did. My guess is the dad handed it off to him and just said, "Take care of my wife and kid."
Yeah,
because Al even says that I'm only doing this as a favor to your mother,
right?
And so I had a hard time seeing him as the villain.
Yeah. Well, one, he's Ernest Borgnine.
And he is Ernest Borgnine.
You have a problem with him being the bad guy.
I do. But I don't think he makes a good bad guy in this.
No, and I think it would be interesting to read the book, because apparently this is based on, speaking of Roald Dahl, although Dahl didn't write it, it is based on a novel.
Yes.
And I would be curious to find out the difference, but not curious enough to read the book.
Maybe I can find a plot summary of the book.
Yeah.
Let's see if production doesn't say that it's based on a book. Okay.
That's listed in the
isn't it? Oh, here it's Ratman's Notebooks.
Yeah, Ratman's Notebooks.
Stephen Gilbert's Ratman's. He's an unnamed social misfit who relates better to rats than humans. And then after the movie, it was re-released as Willard. And so, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's actually, it's exactly like no reason to read the book. It's exactly like the book. I wish it had picked a direction to go in. I wish it had been and made Ernest Borgnine meaner.
Mhm.
Like he doesn't like. I think what like really turned me off to it is so when Willard's mother dies. I mean, Borgnine's there with two bags of groceries.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a bad.
I mean, he ate half of it.
Well, sure, and I think, well, it looked like a pretty good ham sandwich. But I just don't buy it. I don't.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the point of the movie is that the kid is really kind of a spoiled, entitled little brat.
Yeah.
I don't, and maybe that's, I mean, deservedly so. His mother bullies him. I don't know.
If anybody out there has read the book,
Yeah,
let us know down below if we're wrong or
yeah,
what. Because, like I said, I'm curious, but I'm not curious enough to read it.
no. And I guess it kind of reminds me of, I'm thinking of the Riddler in the Batman movie. Same
Mm.
kind of milquetoast character,
Mhm.
but who rises above it.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good superhero or
Yeah,
supervillain origin
yeah,
for like
yeah,
a B-list supervillain,
yeah, yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not enough to carry an entire movie. I don't think.
And I do have to like, I think I mean, and the table's turning on Willard in the end. He gets the girl. He abandons them.
Mhm.
I think that's where the movie picked up.
Yeah.
I wish it had been more people he was angry at,
Yeah.
more revenge deaths, like a real horror movie.
Yeah.
Knock a half an hour off it because it took the entire episode of Sven to get this movie done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
It was
the extended version of Sven
yeah.
to get it done. And so cut, let's say that I don't know. It could he gets revenge on a lot of people. So make it maybe amp up the bad treatment of the kid, and then he uses gets
Yeah.
more and more, and he gets, and then then rather than he getting revenge on Ernest Borgnine's character Al, just for like the way he's treated him, it's because he killed Socrates. Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that he's got Socrates becomes the innocent victim rather than Ben getting killed by Al, and so and then culminating with that, and then
Mhm.
once he doesn't need them anymore, he gets revenge on everyone. He gets the girl. He's got the business. That's when Ben turns on him,
Right.
and so that would have been a tighter movie.
Yeah. And like they they need and on top of all that, make up your mind if you're making a horror movie
Yeah.
or a comedy.
Correct.
Because even the remake from the early 2000s, I think
Mhm.
it came out, was still kind of schizophrenic on that note because you got Crispin Glover as Willard. He's kind of hard to take as anything but a weirdo, and he
Right.
plays it well.
Yeah.
But the movie, I felt the same way about that movie as well.
Yeah.
But I will give Davison and Borgnine credit for working with what they got
Yeah.
and putting everything into it because Davison really is a good weirdo,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and Borgnine, puts everything he has and everything he does anyway, even if it's something that, like he said, sometimes you got to pay rent,
Yeah.
so you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. They got to eat.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
mean,
sure he could eat a lot.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie, though, is,
Mhm.
and I wish there was more of it, is the way Ben looks at him at the end of the movie.
Oh, that little Templeton squint from Charlotte's
I
Web.
mean, that was creepy.
Yeah.
And so I would have pushed that. I would have pushed, or even maybe Ben is jealous of Socrates. Somehow that becomes part of the plot. It's just something more to it than what it is.
What I find interesting is one of the things Sven said towards the end was due to the popularity of this movie, they
Mhm.
made that sequel.
Yeah, Ben. Yes.
Somebody explained to me how this movie was popular.
Yeah, yeah,
How did it? Because it's just so slow and
yeah.
it doesn't really work for me so much.
Started a whole genre too, because there were other animal human alliances that go bad. This is the importance of being earnest. So the important thing is to talk about him. He of course shines.
Yeah.
And I almost wish I'll be honest, I almost wish the movie had been about him as the main character. Like, let's do it as sort of a winking, humorous sequel to Marty. So we take the Marty character. Somehow life has not panned out for Marty, and he takes revenge with his rats. I think that
Yeah,
that would have been a better movie.
his best friend ends up sleeping with his girlfriend at the end of that movie.
And the best friend takes over
Yep.
the business from him, and let's have Ernest Borgnine be he's got the overbearing, really old mother.
Oh
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, have like
his mom in that movie, in Marty.
yeah. So and then add a humor. That I think would have been a fantastic movie. So just ignore the book and
that would have been his like second Oscar.
Yeah, it would have been. Yes,
the sequel of Marty.
yes. Marty, what do you want to do today? I don't know.
I
Get revenge.
I want to kill.
Yeah, I want to kill and get revenge. Yes, you loved him as Marty. Back as Marty. That's what I was wishing for the whole time. I'm like, Ernest would have made this work.
Yeah.
And so he makes his part work.
Yeah.
His piece is really, but I just didn't.
Because he sells it.
Yeah. But I didn't feel, I think I was annoyed by Willard. I'm like.
Yeah, were we supposed to empathize with Willard?
I don't.
Because you don't.
No.
He
seems like an entitled jerk.
We would be sitting here, you and I, we would be sitting here, and there'd be a knock at your door.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd open the door, and Willard would be on the other side of the door with his rats. That's how annoying we found Willard.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
He'd extract his revenge on us.
Yes. Yeah, I just didn't. I thought, Borgnine didn't deserve what he got.
Well, before we give our rating, I want to point out this was in 1971.
Mm-hmm.
If you flash forward 10 years to 1981, 81, 83, somewhere in that the early 80s, Davison and Borgnine teamed up again.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, well, it's one of my absolute favorite bad movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we can't really run it on The Importance of Being Ernest because Ernie's only in it for about 5-10 minutes, so it's not really a Borgnine movie.
Yeah.
However, I do want to review it one day with you.
Okay.
But they were in this movie called High Risk with James Brolin and Cleavon Little and Lindsay Wagner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And it's...
Which we've talked about. We talked about our Bionic Woman show.
Yeah. I love the movie.
Okay.
So much, but I am completely aware that it's bad. Okay, now on to the rating.
Yes. So from a Borg 1 to a Borg 9, what are you giving Ernest Borgnine and Willard?
Well, just as Borgnine was really only highlighted in the third act of this movie, I'm giving it a Borg 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it. Because we do this as him in the movie, not just him.
Yeah.
Because honestly, every performance of Ernest Borgnine is a Borg 9.
As evidenced by Willard.
Yes. So, but I think for me, Willard, the whole thing together is about a Borg 2.
Yeah.
Because I just think he's mischaracterized in this movie.
He's mischaracterized and underutilized.
Yeah.
This is Adios Airlines. We just know you're gonna love it down there. The natives are friendly, the women are willing, and they just love Americans. Because down there is $5 million and a high-risk adventure that never lets you down. Down there.
Here we come!
High risk. Adios.
High Risk starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers for theaters and showtimes.
So, all right. So on to
the
Sven bits, brought to you by Sven Bits. So yeah, so I like the fact that we got. Well, no, maybe I would have preferred an edited down version of this movie to fit in the old time slot. But oddly enough, it filled the whole. I mean, luckily that means we didn't get any Sven on the road.
The irony of that is a movie about rats. We didn't get any Pinky in the Brain.
No, we did not. No, thankfully.
Alas.
Yes. And so no, Sven can retire on the road. As we've said in other episodes, just get the Sven Squad to do more bits.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Sven Squad, so we had Nostalgia for Atu as a rat rat movie producer.
Yes,
or
yes.
rat agent.
Yes,
Agent.
he's
Agent.
an expert in everything.
Yeah,
an agent for everyone.
So that was funny.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you though. This was televised last in January 2024.
Yeah.
I think that was a rerun too.
Everything. Okay, to my memory, everything but the male segment was a rerun. Was in
January 2024.
Right. However, the thing is for me is this episode, his part of the show is a perfect example of a Svengoolie show.
Yes,
it had everything you wanted. It had corny jokes. It had nowadays nostalgia for Ratu.
A cartoon. It had a commercial.
Yep.
Funny commercial.
Yep.
Which was great and a good song.
Yep. Yeah, and as when we were kids, it didn't matter if we watched reruns or not.
No,
because we really only stuck around for the Sven bits anyway, and we enjoyed them. I just think this episode was a good crosshatch of what a good Svengoolie episode is.
Yes,
he's working with what he's got, which is Willard, and his parts are funny.
Yeah, I thought the commercial was funny. I thought the song was good.
Mm-hmm.
I love Nostalgia for Ratu, and it was early makeup version of Nostalgia.
Yeah, you caught that.
I did. Yeah,
really dark.
Yeah, really dark around the mouth. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is definitely a rerun.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was funny, and he really cracked up Sven in this one, which I love when he does that.
Yeah,
and so that was perfect. So yeah, again, and if you go to any of the Svengoolie sites on Facebook, we all. Svengoolians, I'm looking at you. I just joined a House of Svengoolie one.
Oh,
we all talk about we all talk about the fact that when trolls get on there, oh, this movie's terrible, and why is he showing it? And he showed it just yesterday. We all get on there and say, no, we're here to watch Sven. The movie is incidental, and definitely Willard in this case, is incidental.
Well, and had we not been gearing up to record this one, we actually watched the movie more than we would have watched or we've seen already.
Correct.
Like when the rest of the bunch are here, we goof off and tell stories during, just like we did when we were kids. It was like the extended bathroom breaks for some of the bad movies,
right?
But because you were
glued, at least me, I'm glued to my little black and white TV with my tape recorder, waiting to record the Sven song, and the commercials, so that he did.
Yep.
And so that pays off well in this. And again, like I said earlier, I just hope that in the future, when there's shorter movies, that rather than do on the road, give all three of them a chance to come on and do a bit.
Yeah, there's three of them.
Yeah.
There's plenty of space for bits.
Yeah.
With them.
Yeah, just give them each a bit. Or do like we said with Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. They should have. It could have been just Gwengoolie that night, but had her come back for three different bits.
Yeah.
So that's our advice.
Yeah.
Because the on the road stuff is getting a little old.
Yeah, honestly, because I don't give a hoot about wrestling.
Yeah.
And there's always some wrestler.
Yeah.
And if Sven likes wrestling, it's his show. Let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
But
we don't need to see 2016 wrestling, guys.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like I'm sure I know he's been to shows recently.
Yeah.
So maybe that stuff will turn up in the future.
Yeah.
But just stop with the 2016 stuff.
Yeah. We don't need to see it. We've seen enough of it.
I mean, I'm sitting here talking about what a good episode it was. We're also blasting the on the road stuff.
But I think the perfect that's why this as a Sven episode.
Yeah, true.
Was a Borgnine. I mean, if we or a Sven 9,
Sven 9 from outer space.
Yes, yeah. And so because it had great bits. And no filler. Nothing felt like filler tonight.
Right, like had Willard ran short and they stuck in Sven on the road from 2016.
Yeah,
it would have lowered it. Yeah.
And or do a longer mail segment. I know people send in all kinds of stuff. That mail segment used to be long.
That was one of my favorite parts of the
Yeah.
show, was because if you had sent in letters,
Yeah.
or like he used to do birthdays,
He
which
used to
I'm
do
not
birthdays.
saying go back and do
No,
birthdays,
no.
because he's international now at this
Yeah.
point, because thanks to the internet.
Yeah.
And the deluge of birthdays that he would get is ridiculous. So I'm not saying do that, but that's the stuff we tune in for. There was a lot of, like, some of the letters would have, like pictures that kids
Yeah.
drew.
Yeah.
And yeah, he gets professional artists on there, but there's fans out there, and I know he does show fan stuff,
Yes.
but
just do more.
there's more of it.
Yeah, for every 10 minutes of a stupid wrestler from 2016, that could be 10 minutes of kids' drawings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do an extended and if it's hard to do that because he's doing both his own voice and Kerwin's voice,
Mhm.
then mix it up. Have Kerwin there for part of it.
Mhm.
And then maybe one of the Sven Squad joins
Right,
in for
right.
the mail, yeah. To read some of the mail. So
Yeah.
anyway, but
But
I don't want this to be a bash Svengoolie
Yeah, because
episode.
we're
Like
absolutely not. We're just this is just our opinion.
Yeah,
And
yeah. We just know there's so much good stuff he does. He could do more of that rather than rerun. And I don't mind now. So for example, like if he's on the road this year, I want to see that.
That's what I was trying to say earlier.
Right.
But
So
I couldn't.
if he's on the road 2024, 2025, I want to see that. So I want that segment.
Yeah.
But let's just get the new stuff.
Yeah, like I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch the 2024, 2025 in like 2030.
Correct.
I want to see it within a year after.
Yeah.
At the longest.
Correct. Let's do that. Yeah. So more Borgnine in the movie, more Sven bits in Sven as it was tonight. So we got what we needed in Sven. We need more Borgnine.
You can always use more Borgnine.
We always need more Borgnine.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this special episode of The Importance of Being Ernest and the Return of the Son of the Show.
Mm-hmm.
But before we go, just like in the beginning, I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
And always remember
the importance of being earnest.